Monster Hunter is one of those long-running franchises. Been around since the PS2 era. Lots of different mechanics, and I guess a long-running pedigree of how the game works, and that can make it daunting for some people. There are so many mechanics and so many layers to the game that it's really tough sometimes to actually keep track of what you're doing, how to do it, all the different poison mechanics, all that kind of stuff, and yet it has such a huge following. So I'm joined by Cart to discuss exactly what. Are you all right there, or?
I haven't eaten.
You didn't even do
I'll
get the song first.
I'll get the waiter to put it in a doggy bag.
Yeah,
All right,
nice.
let's just do this review.
Right.
Let's get it over and done with.
Be professional. So,
Yes.
obviously, we are talking about Monster Hunter World, newest game in the series on the PS4. So the first time it's been on the consoles for a while, I'm pretty sure. Since Wii U.
First game that's been on a Sony console since maybe Portable Third.
Mm.
So, and the first home console game since Monster Hunter Tri.
Yep.
Ultimate on the Wii U. So it's been quite a long time.
And it really is one of those series that has survived. It was one of the reasons that people bought a 3DS or a PSP. It drove people to it. It termed its own collaboration battle. It termed its own genre of games, similar to MOBA, similar to all those other ones. So it's interesting to see all the new people come on board and kind of be met up front with those daunting mechanics, because that is probably the one thing to take away from the game if you're coming into it new. It can be daunting.
It can be quite daunting, but I would also argue that it is also quite dauntless. With a lot of the things within Monster Hunter World, streamlines a lot of things, a lot of gunk, and a lot of day by day, and just the stuff that you need to do to get to the point. Like there's a lot of stuff that's omitted, such as like ESP as well as Psycho Serum. Instead, what you do is you need to actually utilize your environment and ecosystems around to detect the monster and actually work for that hunt instead of looking for predetermined locations and stuff. So a lot of stuff changes.
So a lot of the changes they've made are quality of life, and even then, it still can be clunky, especially when we're dealing with some of the menus and stuff like that. It definitely does have its bugbears when it comes to UI and things like that. But I think as an introduction to the series, it's fantastic, but also having the accessibility of PSN or Xbox Live or whatever platform you're playing it on really offers the opportunity to play these kind of 4-player games as they should be played, quote unquote, with 4 players.
And having servers that have up to about 16 people as well, where you have a lobby where you can kind of rotate between hunters and stuff like that. They've made the whole experience online far more easier, far more streamlined to get into, much like the game's mechanic-wise. Everything about Monster Hunter World just seems to be, okay, we've listened to a lot of fan reactions, especially from Japan and even overseas, and they've tried to figure out like what is selling and how to nail it. And it seems that on almost every single front, sans maybe the way squads and things like that work, it fires on all cylinders.
So and that is the thing. Going into the main gameplay itself, it still maintains its major thing, which is find the monster, hunt it down, follow it to its lair or whatever the case may be, engage it. And then the idea is you're trying to get materials from it. So whether that's parts of tooth or scale or tails or whatever the case may be, collect those items, either capture them or slay them. And you yourself still only have 3 lives as a general
just get
rule.
bigger and beefier, in the sense that like your loadout basically determines how strong you are. So you can go in completely naked if you want, but you're gonna get wrecked. But sometimes, like, for some strange reason, I find it extremely romantic that you can sit there, kill an entire monster, and then wear the body parts of the father of the child that you're going to go hunt next. I don't know. I just find that
there's something unique to it.
There's something unique to it, and I think that's what it struck the hearts of many.
Many
fans of Monster Hunter.
And that is the game at its core. Realistically, the game is about hunting, finding these monsters, capturing them, putting them under. And as a result, it's still strong on those fronts. On all that kind of thing, there's a little bit of RNG, so it's somewhat comparable, say a Diablo or a Borderlands.
There are a few drop rate issues that do attempt to be fixed through stuff like lucky vouchers, which are used as like daily login bonuses. So the game allows you and encourages you to keep playing through the game, where you can get these vouchers that will boost your chances for getting really good loot and items.
Drop rate and doubles your actual take itself.
And they're not too stringent with it. They take a lot of like elements from gacha mobile games, but they don't make it condescending. They don't game the system. It seems so harmless. It's too good to be true.
Most of the time, you'll normally find what you want in 1 or 2 hunts. Sometimes you will have to go more and more and more. And that is both the strength and weakness of the game, but I would argue it's more of a strength. Like, it's still fun to chase them down. It's still fun to dodge them.
Yep.
Still fun to avoid them, even if Anjanath's hitboxes are fucked.
Well, there's no Plesioth, so
oh, yeah.
you're lucky on
There's
that
Lavioth,
front.
isn't there?
There's Lavioth,
yeah.
but no crazy hip checks
Yeah.
from that front. But I just find it fascinating that you do say that, because that's a kind of notion that I share too, in the sense that you can sit there and go, oh, I didn't get the materials for the from the monster that I wanted to hunt. Let's go hunt him again. It never feels like a chore. It feels a lot more like, well, I get to hunt again.
Yeah.
It's a pretty win-win situation, really.
Plus, it's also the great thing about it is that camaraderie of bringing friends in and saying, right, I need Anjanath and you need Rathian. I'll see if I've got an investigation that covers both those things. And I mean, the review we're covering isn't even talking about forging weapons, which requires different parts and requires all this.
Loadouts too, where the weapons, you have different kinds of combos and the roles in which you use. So stuff like buffing or using particular codings for status ailments for bow guns and bows and stuff. Everyone has their particular role, and while they haven't added any new weapons into the mix, there's more than enough there to keep you satisfied, and they've refined absolutely every single move list.
They've streamlined it to the point where, again, you're still faced with a lot of numbers, you're still faced with a lot of things, but after a while you start to get a feel for what works and what doesn't. I think that's to the credit of the game that, it's got a real hard wall you hit against at the start, so hopefully you've got some good friends to get you through, but once you're through that, you start to engage with the idea of, I know, the thing I'm struggling with at the moment is defense, so I need to have more defense. The thing I'm struggling with at the moment is knockout power, so I need to find a way to add more knockout power. So you go through that process and you go, all right, so what weapon do I need? What's going to give me the advantage? And you trawl through it and you look through it. That said, it is still for a particular kind of gamer, and I don't think it's necessarily for everyone, but I still think there's enough here for most fans of that kind of collaboration game. Is it fair to say? Like, a lot of people we play with play Destiny and those kind of games, and I think that comes across really well for them.
I think that's the good kind of gateway game as well. While, like, games, a lot of people may be disappointed by the way Destiny handles certain facets of its game. Monster Hunter seems a lot more fair in that regard, where it's like, Destiny 2 is the Fate Grand Order of those kinds of games, whereas Monster Hunter is the Fire Emblem Heroes, where it's a lot more fairer. And even if you do dip your toes into the game, you'll still probably get a good 50-hour soak of your toes. And then if you want to go the whole leg in, you can by all means go and do that, but that's another 500 hours wasted of your no, not wasted, appropriately used. So I think I'd say that, fantastic game, probably the best of the series, and a lot of people will agree with us on that front.
From an accessibility point of view, from an overall comprehensive quality of life point of view, I think just from a visual spectacle as well, it still looks fantastic.
Is gorgeous. I don't know how they managed to pump out such ecosystems and universes so vibrant and wonderful, but god damn, they nailed it.